Hey, Mike, well, this is great. So finally, we have an opportunity we put a lot of thought behind the player development chain
hmm
and put things into graphics and a bit of a presentation to give us an opportunity to lay things out, the different pieces of development, the important aspects along the way as players progress from just starting out to get towards that higher and the highest level. So this is going to be a good day.
Okay, so today we're going to lay out if you're a player at the youth level, wanting to go all the way through the different stages of the game. We're going to present to players and to coaches. These are steps that must be taken. You must take these steps because they build on top of each other. If you want to grow a player and make that player have a chance to reach good to great, you have to have this in place. So,
Absolutely.
okay, all right, great. So, Chris, let me do this. I mean, you laid it out really well. You've been a coach at every level of the game. I've coached many levels myself. We're both professional players. You've been at the top at the MLS level for over a decade, seeing all these great players that come through. Let's get into this player pathway because you would never have seen these players if they didn't walk through this path. So I'm gonna pull up my screen, if you don't mind. And for the listeners that are out there, if you get a chance to see the video, you'll see an animation, but we'll also do a good job of explaining what's there, just if you're listening. But if you do have a chance to go back, this is a really important podcast episode about player development. So I'm going to jump on to my screen here and share this for you, Chris, as well as the people that are watching.
Right.
Let me grab that. Okay, so here we have it to start with. Let's take a look at this.
Yeah, basically the way we see things, the way we broke things down, it's pretty self-explanatory when you look there at that graphic. Introductory phases, you start playing at the recreational level. And as you progress, obviously you touch into the competitive junior academy, the competitive academy, and then there's the college opportunity, but potentially you're that good, that advanced that you can jump into the professional ranks. So
Okay.
I really like how this is, segmented, broken down, and very accurate in our opinion.
Yeah. So for people that are just listening, there's essentially 5 building blocks that we're looking at. We have the recreational phase, which is 5 to 9. As they get older, you can move on into the next level, which is competitive junior academy. Then the third level is the competitive academy. And this is where it splits off. If you're really great, like you just mentioned, Chrissa, fundamentally sound, fantastic player with all the building blocks in place, you can see yourself heading off in the professional level, ages 15, 16, 17. If not, there's still development there. Very good player. You can head off into college and then perhaps meet up with the professional level after that. So let's go into each one of these blocks so that people understand that if you want to be a good player, you've got to start with these building blocks. So we're going to go back to the very first one, which is recreational. And Chris, take us through what this looks like and
touch on what you just said. And basically, just for the listeners out there, it's important to understand that it's not one size fits all.
Yeah.
Right. Everyone has their own particular journey, right? And their own pathway.
Right.
Just because you have aspirations to play professionally and you see this player, that player get an opportunity to jump into the professional ranks at age 15, 16, 17, like you mentioned, and if you were a player that didn't have that opportunity, but you had the opportunity to play in college, well, guess what? You're still developing. You're still potentially getting those looks. And maybe your pathway was to go through college to get to the professional ranks.
Right.
Don't fixate on someone else's journey. Just focus in and own in on your own journey.
Great point. Okay, Chris, what I have up here for our group of listeners right now, people that aren't watching, again, we're in the recreational ages 5 to 9. Chris, why don't you walk through the attributes of this building block right here and what really needs to take place for a young player here.
Right. So this is an introductory phase, obviously introducing the game, getting kids out there, enjoying it, having fun. I think first and foremost, the familiarity with the ball, and these are the foundational building blocks, are critical components that you start to introduce. We say emphasize dribbling. You have juggling, passing, controlling, shooting, right? And exploring, right? They're just finding out about the game. What is this all about, right? At the same time, you kind of introduce, obviously, here's the field, right? We're looking to potentially put the ball in the net over there, which is offense, and we're trying to eliminate the other team from putting the ball that's behind us, right? Defense. First and foremost, at this age, it's about enjoyment. It's having fun. It's the running. It's the playing. It's the camaraderie, right, that you will develop, right, with your peers, with your teammates out there. And that has to be in place.
Yeah.
Anything above and beyond that, right, I think people are fooling themselves, right?
Right.
Foster the love of the game at this age group.
Yeah, and I would just add that, with all the years I've coached and the players I've brought up, I mean, you're absolutely right. Foundational phase, and you need to do heavy dosing of the dribbling, the controlling the ball, maybe the introduction of the juggling of the ball, the different parts of the foot, the ability just to kind of stop, move, stop and go, maybe chop a ball, but really enjoy the ball, right? I mean, this is the area where they're not afraid of getting the ball. They can actually start to maneuver the ball, explore with the ball, kind of dribble with the ball. And every once in a while, hey, look, you've got to learn to pass as well. But that's not the emphasis here. It's really enjoying the ball, controlling it, having fun. It's running and playing. It's just having fun with that ball and really encouraging that as much as you can, because we don't want them to miss this phase, because if you do, it's going to be difficult. You can go back and catch up, but it's very difficult if you're not really enjoying it.
Right. Absolutely. And think about, as a kid, you're used to running and jumping and moving. Now you're bringing a whole new concept. There's a ball at your foot. Do we have the ability to progress or move with the ball, and potentially you jog with the ball and dribbling and whatnot? So all these are new concepts and introductory things. So like you said, I think the exploratory nature of things at this level is massive as well.
I would just say, for coaches that are out there that may be listening to this, try and stay away from these big lines. Right, Chris? I mean, where a kid just goes to the back of a line and he's standing there with the ball. Look, you have like maybe 45 minutes with the kids at these young ages.
Right.
Get all of them with a ball, enjoying it at the same time. Make sure you provide exercises where they're all contributing with the ball under that 45 minutes. I know the players that progressed really well for me is we would always try and get a lot of quality touches inside a session, because really at this age, these kids, young kids may only be going to a practice, maybe twice a week. And then parents need to understand too, look, I can have this ball around the house and introduce that as well. But what are your comments, or what are advice you give to coaches at this age, Chris?
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. And you're dealing with young kids as well. So attention span, a butterfly might fly by and the whole
right.
The boys or girls are like, oh man, that's cool.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, it's trying to introduce the game, but maximize the small amount of time you have with the players.
Yeah.
So like you said, as opposed to a coach standing in front of a line of 10 players and that player waiting 2-3 minutes to potentially get his or her turn at collecting the ball, dribbling, shooting, whatever the case may be. It's getting all the players with the ball, as many touches as possible.
Yeah.
And being very patient and realizing that, hey, you have a plan and it's laid out. Well, guess what? 5 minutes in, once again, the attention span isn't there.
Right.
The kids are all squirrely and running around and whatnot. That's fine. Just do what you can do. And like you said, I think hopefully as the players are out there, they realize, hey, we are having some fun. Well, guess what? You might have one training a week at that age, 2 at most. When you're at home or you're with your parents, you're going to the park, you bring the soccer ball. You're in your backyard, you're in your basement if you have the ability to go down there. So,
or you're working with a rebounder somewhere and having fun with it. Perfect. Well, let's move on. Let's move on to the next building block. So, heavy dose of dribbling, passing, controlling, shooting, exploring, running, playing, having fun. So that's the recreational side of it, and really get the kids engaged with their one practice or two practices. And parents, you can supplement with exercises that you come across. So we're going to move on to the next phase. Okay, here we go. Junior Competitive Academy. Chris, walk us through this, and what are we seeing? We're going from rec to kind of this junior academy, this little kind of quasi competitive world, but there are some things happening here that's creating a separation of the player. Why don't we walk through this?
Sure. So at this level, obviously the player after the introductory phase realizes that there is a love for the game. The interest level is high and they continue to want more. In order to want more, those initial introductory foundational pieces, now at this level, those are starting to, still critical and super important, but now you're starting to refine. You're looking to improve the dribbling, passing, controlling, shooting. Once again, all while still exploring. Okay. And now as you progress, right, it's a little more structured, so to speak. You'll start probably owning in more on positions within the team structure. Right? Just a little bit. It's spacing. It's kind of like starting point, so to speak, and realizing as an action takes place, and let's say the ball goes out of bounds, maybe now you realize you recovered back to maybe how that starting point looked. These types of things. Now, as we have progressed, and the level is getting a bit higher. Now you're thinking about what's going to allow you to play at that level. Now you're talking about the agility, speed without the ball, and once again, I talked about the improvement of all those foundational pieces. So now our dribbling is enhanced, right? The way we can control a ball, right? Our ability to pass a ball, shooting the ball, these types of things. And now as you climb that ladder and teams and levels start to be differentiated, you'll have tiers going on. Now it's that competitive spirit, right? Your ability to compete, because we're having fun at the introductory level. Now it's starting to get tiered. So in order to, if you have the aspiration to progress and continue to start playing at a bit of a higher level, right? That competitive spirit is massive, but never losing sight of still enjoying yourself and having.
Yeah. And so just as a building block, right? If you're going to be this young little player or you're a coach of some young players, it's really important to give them the opportunity to have fun, and having fun is having a little bit of success with the ball. So back when they're 5 and 6, introducing that fun and that success without really that overall huge amount of dose of competitiveness. I mean, winning and losing shouldn't be what's going on really at this age. It's not winning and losing either. It's giving these kids a chance to say, look, I'm comfortable with the ball, so that if they do have that internal desire to compete at the next level, they're not just stumbling around, not understanding how to dribble, or they didn't have any experiences kind of in the first building block that allows them to progress. They're stuck back at the ages of 5, 6, 7, but yet now they're 8 and 9 and they're struggling, but they want to have success, but there's just a lot of frustration with the player at that point. And so you can start to see how this is building. You can start to see how the clubs are starting to integrate the tiering process. So they're all starting to say, okay, we have lots of kids that can still stay in the rec and still have fun. And you know what? That's a big part of having fun with the game. Stay over there. But they are looking at these kids that really do enjoy competing. They're having fun. And when we say competing, it's really more to me, it's like they're really focused and intent on what's going on. They're like excited to be there, right? And they're like, they can't wait for the game to start. That's what we're talking about, that they're looking for, is that real engagement, that when the ball is down, they're focused and they just want to have a lot of fun, and the intent and the desire is like, it's excitement. That's what you start to see there. And that's what we mean by a competitive spirit. There's a full intent for them to be there, and they want to be there.
And at this stage as well, like you talked about, they enjoy having success. Well, if you task the team with, hey, this is what we're going to work on throughout the week, and let's see if it can come to fruition or to life, during the game, the match on the weekend. And all of a sudden, if they worked on something and it results in something positive and maybe they score a goal, it's like, holy cow, we were tasked with this. We tried to do this. We accomplished it. Oh man, this is awesome. I want more of it. So this work is coming to life, and it's proven. So now it's like, wow, this is exciting. I want more of this.
Right. And a lot of this can be brought out, coaches, by letting them just play at the end of your practices. So there isn't so much, there's some structure. Maybe you bring in some exercises early on, back in the rec level, as well as every level, the competitive, what's going to be coming here soon. We'll show you other steps. But the idea is you introduce these concepts, but then you let them explore with playing. And that's where you introduce, the 2 goals. They understand the grid. Go out and have some fun. Try and do the things you learned, or the things you learned at home. Come in, fail a bunch of times. You're going to have some success. But this whole idea of failing and then understanding how they failed, it's all part of the process. Winning and losing is not the objective here. Failing with the ball, success with the ball, it is how you create a really good player down the road. They have to understand it's okay to fail, right? And it's okay to learn from that, because what's happening is their body is learning like how to manipulate this ball. Each time they fail, they're self-correcting on what it does, and then they're going to get it right. And when they feel like they got it right, that's what they're going to remember. But you can't get it right without a bunch of failure to begin with. So you're encouraging that exploring and that playing at the end of practice, or towards the end of your practice.
And what these players secretly don't even realize is that the times of failure and then figuring it out and having success will drop into, one of the most important pillars of the game when it comes to the mindset. So as they get older, it's learning to deal with these types of things that'll pay dividends, right?
Absolutely.
And if you talk about the pillars of the game at the youngest age, the technical piece is massive. Like I said before, foundational building blocks. These things need to be in place in order to progress. If that's what interests you, right? So the technical, and obviously as we get older, the other pillars of the game, which we'll speak about, will be prioritized more so than just the technical.
Okay, good. Okay, those are ages anywhere from 9 to 11. Maybe it's plus or minus on either side of that, depending on the club that you're in. It could be 8 to 12, 8 to 11. But they do start to separate players from rec, and then bringing them into that first phase of junior competitive academy type programs. So they're tiering. Okay, let's move on to the third layer of the player development. So rec was number 1, junior competitive. And now as we move on to the third one, we're going to take a look at right here, competitive academy. Okay, and again, we could be plus or minus on maybe the ages here, maybe 12 to 17, could be 11 to 17, depending on your club. But there are players now making this next jump, which is the competitive academy jump that's happening in the clubs across the United States. So what's happening? How do players get selected into this level? So talk about what's really going on with these players, and the movement that's even going further towards being a better player. So Chris, take away this little section.
Sure. And so just for the landscape, for those listeners, obviously in these competitive clubs, or these clubs, I should say, and they offer a competitive platform. We mentioned the tiers, right? So you'll have the highest tier, right, which is typically the collection of the best players and the best team. And then if it's a large club, you might have a second team, a third team, all the way down to the 5th or 6th level. So if we're just touching on, let's just start at the top. I think that's where we'll go and take it from there. But once again, now you're really refining everything, right? Those critical components, still the dribbling, the passing, controlling, shooting, right? All while still you're growing as a player. So there's still a lot of exploring going on. Now we talked prior about the technical side. Now tactics and these other pillars are starting to creep in. So now you're getting more familiar with positional awareness, your responsibilities, and kind of concepts within the team framework, right? Prior we touched on, we're talking about movement and body control and agility and whatnot, but now we're thinking about the speed, the strength, the power, certainly the coordination, and the importance as we get older towards that high school age group. How are we preparing, right? What are we eating? How are we fueling our body? And then are we sleeping? Are we resting well? And what type of recovery modalities do we have, right? Because as you climb that level, right, and you play at a higher level and you have these, let's say, tournaments and whatnot, you might have 3 to 5 games in a short span of time, or maybe 3 to 4 days. So what are you doing to give yourself the best possible chance to have success? And then things start playing in, right? And then we talked about the mindset, right? So certainly as you climb these levels and you're playing at the higher level or the highest level, right? It's that mentality piece, right? And it's your desire, your commitment to be the best possible version of yourself and be a really valuable asset to your team, right? And part of that too is your ability to listen, right? Take in information and apply it. So how coachable are you? If someone's your coach or is laying something out to you, can you ingest it? Can you process it and then actually apply it? And are you willing to do so? Right? And I'll tell you right now, as a coach, right? You look at players and you deliver these messages, and every player is different, right? But I can tell you right now, those players that try to apply things and aren't having success and just shut down or throw their hands in the air or try and push the blame somewhere else, you realize that's probably not the best scenario. You got to have a mechanism to get yourself, out of that. But you have players that, okay, they make a mistake, that's fine. Press delete, reset, let's get on with it. They continue to push through. And oftentimes at this youth level as well, right? In my experience, if let's say your game isn't always going to be your top game every day, right? You're not always going to be the best version of yourself. But if for some reason you're having some struggles, let's say in the technical side that day or understanding, just put your head down, continue to work hard. And over the course of time, that hard work, that work ethic, that dedication to trying to do, right, what's being asked of you will overcome and you will find success.
Right. No, good points. And this is, for me, Chris, those are incredible points. Great advice that you're providing to our listeners. This slide has got so much to unpack. I mean, we can double click in a lot of areas. And the first thing I want to actually bring out as a really important point is the ages between 11 and 17. You're going to see a massive change in people's bodies, right? On the male side, and on the female side. And I want to just dive into the third point, and I want to double click into all 4 of these different areas that we define here. Let's double click into the physical pillar of the game and how important it is, and how I think a lot of people have a misconception that, the weight room or weights or any of the agility drills need to happen much later on in this 11 to 17 years of age for a player. What we're starting to see at our levels and our experiences that we've got, and obviously we've got on our board, Joey over, he's been in the MLS for, significant amount of years. He's got this academy program. He's putting these kids through this. Talking with our expert, you need to be doing stuff that's agility driven, running, jumping, agility, body weight early on at that 10, 11, 12 before you're maturing. So
Correct.
you're getting the proper movements down and the proper coordination. And then as your body starts to mature, you start to get into loading on some of those things. Still, there's the agility with loading, and there's the strength, and there's the power. And it's happening everywhere in the world. I mean, this isn't something that's just a US based thing. Europe is doing this. The US, I mean, wherever there's great players and great leagues, the early on agility and coordination with your own body weight is critical, and you need to make sure you're doing it in the right ways. And then the progression into the overloading / weights or resistance training needs to happen as you start to progress and mature as a player. So just wanted to double click on kind of the agility, speed, strength, coordination portion of it. Is one pillar of the game, which is the physical pillar of the game, and how coaches and parents and players need to take this very seriously, because it will complete you as a player. A lot of people are skipping this.
Mm-hmm. And the thing that you mentioned at that younger age, 11, 12, 13, you talked about the importance of these movements and whatnot, but it's learning the mechanics. So now you're setting the stage and setting the table. So when you do go through that maturation phase, and let's say you're now maybe 15, 16, you're into that high school age, right? Your body has changed, gone through changes. Now it's in a state where, hey, we can talk about that loading and whatnot you mentioned. But prior to that, you have the mechanics down, you have the understanding of strengthening your body through body weight exercises, agility drills, this, that, and the other. So you're more prepared to introduce that next stage.
Yeah. I want to move into this refinement, which was the top line on our slide here, around the technical phase. We talk about refining the dribbling, passing, controlling, shooting, juggling, exploring, etc. Again, wide range between ages 11 to 17. And what's going to happen in this group is the tactical side of it and the technical side of it is going to start to blend in a coach's eye. In other words, parents that are out there, why it's so important that your kid loves the ball is because eventually they're going to be placed in what coaches believe would be their position that they need to start learning now and into the future. Okay. So back in the rec and the junior competitive, everyone kind of plays all over the place, right? And there's a lot of just like moving players around, exploring in different positions. But as you start to get into this tactical side of the game, where coaches will literally start to develop systems of play and formations, they're going to start to look at players and say, based on their attributes and how they are from a mindset, and really their physical abilities and their agility, they're going to start to put players into these positions in your club. So yeah, you're going to be kind of locked in. Maybe you're a bigger kid, you're a center back, but you know how important it is for you to actually be really good with the ball as a center back, and your passing, how good you need to be in the ball striking. Well, that was all done earlier on, right? And that's why you can't skip these things, right? And so, Chris, just jump into how you see a blending that's going to start happening between coaches having to start to think about tactics, putting players in there, and then the player themselves not skipping those prior steps of understanding and having fun with the ball, etc.
100%. So from a coach's eyes, obviously the coach is building the team and come up with, a model of play, so to speak, how they want to progress down the field, attacking, defending, right, transition, so on and so forth. So as he's building or she's building the team out, you look at the players you have, you look at their attributes, and you think about the positions on the field. You might have a player that's confident 1v1, right, that has some speed. Right away, they might think, hey, let's put this player out wide. Why is that, right? Because it can beat a player 1v1 and blaze down the sideline and bypass tons of the opposition. And then let's talk about the last piece of the puzzle. From the technical side, is that player able to deliver a good pass? So you think about tactics, right? Technical implications of or tactical implications of technique, right? So if you're able, you're as a coach, you're trying to build something out and want to play a certain way, you have to have the players and have the ability and the skill set and the profiles in those positions to deliver the tactical, right, what you're trying to accomplish. So,
Right.
like you said, Mike, and the thing is, right, for me in my experience, I was a central midfielder until the age of 17. And for those listening out there and understanding the game, right, as a central midfielder, you're a creative player, you're a link between offense and defense, side to side, front to back, back to front, and you're a playmaker. You're creating, key passes, this, that, and the other. So I had a coach that thought I'd be more valuable as a central defender, right? So for me, when that coach made the move and I embraced it, I said, listen, I haven't played it before, but please teach me. The best, most advantageous thing for me is that I was comfortable with the ball. I was comfortable with players all around me and having to check my shoulder, this, that, and the other. But when I moved back as a center back, it felt like oftentimes, right, the opposition is in front of me, not all around me. So I felt like I had more time, right? I was confident on the ball. And if I was pressed, it's okay. I can get out of trouble because of the technical, you know, tool set or what I put together in earlier on in my career.
Right.
So I think all these things are tied together. And once again, when you have two good teams playing, right, that are well coached, what does that look like?
Right.
So for the players themselves.
Right.
And if you're under duress or under pressure, if you have that technical base and single-handedly, it's maybe a dip of the shoulder and a little change of pace, you can free yourself up and then make a pass. Well, great. But if these things are lacking, right? And if you're lacking in an area and you know that, right, and you are under pressure, you're gonna panic. And we talk about the hot potato, like, "Oh my god, I don't wanna make a mistake, you take it." As opposed to having the confidence, "It's okay, right? Pressure me. I'll get out of it." So, there's so many things that come into play. Just talked about the technical side. Now we talked about confidence and the mentality. So now at these ages, all these things are coming together, and you can see the importance of fine-tuning and having, right, these pillars or buckets in place.
Absolutely agree 100% with what you're saying. And it all fits together nicely like a puzzle. So you go back to those early years of introducing fun with the ball, dribbling, taking players on, failing, learning how to improve, etc. Then you get into the junior academy, more of the same, a little faster, but you can't skip those steps because if you skip them, the game at the ages of 15, 16, 17 are getting faster. The athletes are getting stronger. And so you have to have these mechanisms, these skills to be able to get out of situations. So you got to be able to get out of situations with the ball and you got with your feet and also with passing and moving, right? And then you got to be able to handle the 50-50. No one has the ball. Can you win it back?
Right.
Because you're physically strong enough and durable enough to be able to go into these duels and come back and help your team or at least compete well enough that you win some, you lose some. But that's the physical side of it. And then the whole mental side is really the words overused growth mindset. But really, that mindset we're talking about is it's okay to say that I've failed, but what am I going to do to get out of that issue? The next one, I don't want to turn one mistake into two. What's my intentional plan of being able to improve while I'm in a game? And for those players that are listening out there and parents, another thing is go to practice with the intention of getting better. And when things aren't working out, you have a plan to say, I got to simplify things right here so I can get things out of practice. Now, Chris, I want to go over inside this age group is recruiting. So these college coaches, they know what we're talking about. And they're looking at those pillars, these building blocks, and they're looking at the positions that the systems of play that they play in college. And they're looking to say, look, this is how we play. These are the attributes I need out of a player. Let's say it's a wide player, central player, center backs, keeper, whatever. They have in their mind kind of the attributes of that player. And they're going to the games to look at that. And what we talked about, it needs to be there and the kids need to show that they can do it. So that's kind of check the box. But this mentality piece is a super big point that they look at when things aren't going well. Can you talk about that?
100%. I mean, first and foremost, you'll spur an interest based at the end of the day, you are a soccer player. So they want to see you on the field, what you're what you're capable of doing, this, that, and the other, right? That's first and foremost. And you talked about the profiling of positions. They play a certain way. They see a particular player that fits into this particular position, the way they want to play. That's first and foremost. There's so much more that goes into it. You talk about, the mindset, the character. How do these players, they're looking at everything, right? How do they respond to mistakes? Earlier on, I talked about throwing your hands in the air. Hey, what are you doing? And, are they accountable, right? Are they reflective, right? How do they interact with their teammates? There's so many different things off the field. What kind of crowd do they run with? How do they spend their free time? Because at the end of the day, when these schools are coming to find players, right? And they're offering them scholarships and they're investing in the players, it's critical that, the soccer piece might be there, but they need to align that with the character, how they carry themselves, this, that, and the other. Because at the end of the day, right, the soccer piece all goes out the window if they potentially have an issue off the field. So they do their best, they vet, they find resources, they get recommendations and find as much as they can. These particular players, from there, if they feel everything, like you said, checks the box, we're going to offer that scholarship.
Yeah, and the piece of advice I'd give any player and any parent that's supporting their player, or even coaches know this, but is if I'm in that position of selecting players out of this competitive, academy box here, and I'm trying to put a national contending team together, I'm looking at the competitive nature of the player, number one. If you have a strong desire and commitment to compete at the highest level, and you've got that drive to be the best version of yourself on every play, every game, then I'm going to look for that, because times are going to get tough if you're going to try and win a national championship, and not every game's going to be easy, and you're going to be on all different types of surfaces, different weather, traveling, but I need that competitor that competes. And so these coaches actually look at making their final decision, because there's a lot of players that check the box around dribbling, passing, in this position, speed. But at the end of the day, when things are really, really difficult, how are they communicating with their teammates to try and win the game that's in front of them? They may be down, let's say 3-1, and they just got to get it to 3-2 and maybe get it to 3-3 and walk out with a tie. They want to see those moments, because that's what happens in these games out there. It's not always easy, right? You're not always playing teams that are a little bit less than you and you can do what you want, but you're going to play some teams in really difficult conditions and really good teams. Competition, how you compete, your mentality, your body language, that is number one. And then your talent level is number two. And boy, I'll tell you what, if you can put the best talent together with an incredible competitor, you've got something super special in a player. I mean, that you don't see a lot of those, but I can tell you, I've seen a lot of these. You're super talented, but you decide to compete whenever you want to compete.
Right.
I don't think any coach wants that player. I'm just telling you right now.
There's nothing more frustrating from my coaching experience to have a player that's a world beater one day, non-existent the next, like you've never seen the next day.
Yeah.
Completely obsolete. So for me, if I have a player that I know is consistently going to bring this particular level, maybe it's not the best, certainly not the worst, but it's a player that I can rely on and I know what I'm going to get, going to compete and have the right mindset and work ethic. That's the player that I'm taking. Yeah.
And wrapped inside with what you just said is a player that's bought in to what the team plan and culture is all about. Because if you've got a real big competitor with all the skills that check the box for that position, can play at a very high level, but then on the side isn't really kind of rowing in the same direction that the team wants, that's a bad situation to be in as a coach and really that player for your team. It's not a good situation because that's a culture distraction. It takes away from the culture. We need everybody rowing in the same direction. It's always been said, man, a plan is better than no plan, right? And if you're on that plan and that good plan and you're rowing in the same direction, you're always going to have a better chance at success because you got everybody going in the same direction. So as a player or parents encouraging kids, get on board with what your coach wants, especially at these levels. Just dive into his culture, and that's going to allow you to provide all the strategy and tactics, and everybody's on the same page, and then you can get success. So there is that component of everything we talked about. Be a competitor, have the skills, have the physical abilities, but also buy in and drive your team forward with one plan, one direction, and you're going to get the most you can out of your career.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay, good. Let's move on. If we could here, Chris, and let's just talk about just the last bit here, the professional, and then we can kind of wrap it up. But, right here, we've got the college and professional stuff that's going on. Why don't we talk about that? You've coached in the MLS now for over 10 years. Why don't you talk about that?
Actually coached in MLS for 5 years.
Well,
Right.
USL. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Needless to say, yeah, this is the highest. I mean, let's talk about college prior to the professional level. But once again, now it's you've climbed the ladder. You're playing at a very high level, right? So, and you talk now, you're in a particular position. This is where you play. So you're looking at the profile of that position. It's refining, right? Everything in those buckets, the technical requirements of that position, right? Tactically understanding, what your role is, right? What the responsibilities are, the concepts within team formations, the system of play, the model of play, however the coach is laying things out. Okay. The physical requirements, right? Obviously, we talked about a winger before, that endurance, that burst of speed, that willingness to recover 80 yards. Your team recovers the ball, and now you have to run up the field 80 yards, these types of things. And then the mindset. So the differentiator and the separator as you get to the highest levels, and we're talking about college now, right? But once again, it's that mindset. It's that the ability to be resilient, right? To deal with failure. Can you self-reflect even ongoing within a particular training session and a game itself?
Yeah.
Mistake doesn't avalanche, doesn't snowball out of control. Great, it happened. I'm not going to let it happen again. Build yourself back up, and now you're flourishing, right? So if you just go to the pinnacle of the professional level, right? It's the highest of the highs. So all those critical components that fall into the four pillars of the game, right? That's just, it's everything. It's all encompassing. And you talk about especially the physical side, right? Now we're really owning in on, how are you taking care of your body, what you're eating, right? How you're resting, sleeping, recovering, preparing. And it's all cyclical, right? If the match is on a Saturday, what are you doing Sunday to the following Saturday, right? It's the daily checklist that you have to hit in order to give yourself the best possible chance to flourish. Now, at the professional level, guess what? At the end of the day, it's not about development, it's about winning. And if you're a piece of that puzzle, you need to carry your weight. Because if you don't, guess what? Next man up, right? You're getting paid to play, right? And you're competing against other players, right? And within your team, right? You want to be in the starting 11, right? So that's what you want. That's what your aspiration is. Well, maybe that's not the case. Someone's better than you.
Yeah.
So what do you do about it? You sit and cap, request a trade, and maybe go find somewhere else so there's an opportunity, or do you roll your sleeves up, get to work, and try and become the best version? Control what you can control. We talked about it before. It's your attitude. It's your approach on a daily basis. Right? What are you going to do about it? Right? If something isn't working in your favor, okay, what are you going to do to change that? And at the end of the day, guess what? You might do everything in your power and it doesn't change, so be it. You can put your head on the pillow at night and realize that everything in your control you utilized,
Right.
you use. And guess what? At the end of the year, maybe it's a situation, or they release you, or you get traded and you find a new home and you flourish there. Right. So these are all the realities, right? At the highest level, right? These are the requirements.
It's interesting, Chris. Very, very interesting how you spoke about the highest level, how you've seen it, what these players have to do from preparation and recovery. Just, I think, a little insider guidance to some of the players, even parents listening. If you want to be a professional player, a lot of what Chris talked about, these habits and goals that you have, these little refinements, they're happening in that competitive landscape in block number 3. When you've got the dream of being a professional player, you need to hear it from guys like us that say, if you want to be a pro, start thinking about training like a pro when you're 15, 16, and 17, and building in those habits. And these habits that I'm talking about, you might think they're really small, but the way you prepare for a game, it may create an incremental, let's say, value to you in the game of 2, 3, 5%. Hydration may allow you to play 5, 10% better in that particular game. The amount of sleep you get, how you handle yourself around your friends that are going out to 2 a.m, you got a big game the next day. Are you making the right decisions at 15, 16, and 17 years of age? Because if you want to be a pro, you got to act differently. Right? And these concepts and the formula for success is, if that's your dream, if you think about how these guys are functioning at the professional, even at the high level collegiate side, you can bring that back into your environment when you're 15 and 16 and start acting like that towards training with intention, preparation with intention, recovery with intention, right? And really bringing this into your game early on. You're going to see these 2%, 4% gains. You might even not even think you're getting gains, but I'll tell you what, you do it enough, those little 1% start adding up, and then before you know it, you're like, wait, how come I'm getting faster? Why am I have more agility? Well, it's all the work you put in, because you knew you needed to get there to be recruited as a collegiate athlete. And it's all the work you put in with the ball away from practice, or the ball striking you decided to do because you're a center back and you need to be able to flight the ball 4 different ways in different situations, and you need to be prepared for it. And there are different passes that need to come out of that center back for you to be considered to be a professional player at center back. Well, you better find out what those are, right? And then start working on that when you're 16 years old or 15 years old. So anyways, that's my encouragement advice is, if you want to be one of these top players, start thinking about what you need to be doing when you're 15 and 16, and start building those habits in, going to practice early with a good warm up, staying after, doing what you need to work on. And inside the training or inside games, be very intentional about how you want to improve as a player.
And you touched on it, but I'll just reiterate, there are sacrifices along the way.
For sure.
To be the best, or to achieve your greatness in whatever it is you decide to take on, there will be sacrifices. There'll be different prioritization of what it is you do. And like you said, there might be a function on a Friday night. You have a match on Saturday morning. Guess what? You don't attend the function if you're serious about being the best player possible.
That's right.
You have your eye on the prize. And guess what? All those little things, anyone can go out and do this, that, and the other socially, but not just anyone can be a top player. So if that's in your heart and that's your desire, right? Keep that focus. Realize there's certain things that you might not be able to participate in, but in the long run, you're going to get closer to where you really want to be by avoiding those types of situations.
Good stuff. Okay. All right, let's touch on this here, Chris. So I'll do this. I'll take this for a second. So we spent our time right here talking about a player path. And if there are a lot of players that are out there that are listening to this podcast or seeing the graphic, what we have on here is there an issue around feeling as if you might have missed some of those steps, right? And so if you feel that way, and you feel like you're not a complete player and you don't have it all figured out, then let's take a look at iATAC Soccer. That's what we're set up to do. First of all, is to show you guys, what does this pathway look like? We just spent the time looking at the pathway. And then from there, if you're feeling like a player, like, hey, I just don't feel comfortable in certain situations, we've got development programs. We can meet players on the digital world out there, with our digital platform, our programs. We can bring players together. And what we do, Chris, and you can speak about a little bit more, is we like to be position specific, bring lots of those players together. Let's call it this outside wing players, 7s and 11s. Let's get you guys, collected into a group, and let's walk through the things that you need to do to be a great player, and then show you what needs to be done. And you can go work on some of that stuff outside your practice, so that, number one, these are things I may be deficient in. And then we can give you a clear plan about how you can go ahead and get better, and obviously try and become the best player or best version of yourself. Chris, what do you want to add to that? Because to be a complete player is difficult, but speak into this slide a little bit. I'll give you the last word.
Yeah. So basically, Mike, it's just being honest with yourself as a player.
Mm-hmm.
It's, where are you at? Where are you flourishing? Maybe what are some areas of focus and deficiencies? And I'll tell you right now, oftentimes there's a misconception, right? You might have a 15, 16-year-old player that physically is dominant and it's still having success because physically they're different, but technically they're behind. And to really climb and continue to climb, these areas need to be polished, refined, brought up to speed. It's not too late, right? And that's the beautiful thing about what we provide. We meet the players where they're at, and we can see them, analyze them, figure out what's in place, what's good, let's make better. What needs some attention, we're going to bring that up to speed, right? Through our experience, and we take that experience and deliver it in different programs to meet the player where they're at. And like you said, we're super excited about the position specific groups and the ability to work with players from wherever they are, right? And lay out, here's the standard, right? But what are the building blocks or the pieces that get you there in all those 4 different pillars?
Right. So if you're from North Carolina and you're hearing this,
Mm-hmm.
and you're, let's say, an outside player and you want to join, well, you can sign up, because it doesn't matter. It's digital. If you're in Montana, Washington State, look, this is built basically for the US based player. It can obviously be English speaking, Canada can join in, but the point being is we've got a lot to offer. You can see the player development. Chris, you nailed it. If you're feeling like, hey, I'm missing some of these things, then you can go to iatacsoccer.com. That's where you need to go. Check out the plans. You can apply, and then we can just put these groups together. We're doing it right now. We're getting a lot of interest, but I think this podcast, whether you join us later on doing some of these programs or not, is valuable for any player, for any coach. And really, it's kind of the truth test as a player. Be truthful. Where are you at right now? Perfect example, Chris, is a physically dominated player that had their way all, like you just said, and then they're maybe lacking on the technical side, or they don't even understand their position. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with players where it's like I'm put in a position, but it's never been explained to me, the relationship of how I'm supposed to be on the field with other players, and what I do off the ball, and what I can do on the ball, right? And so there's a lot of players that are lost. They don't have the full picture in the different buckets. So there's the technical bucket, the tactical, the physical, and then the mindset. And in between those building blocks, like we talk about, depending on your age or where you might have missed the gap, you could have some catching up to do.
Well, my final parting thought is, let's think about in a 90-minute game itself.
Mm-hmm.
Player might be on the ball 90 seconds,
2 minutes,
something along those lines.
Right.
So the other 88 minutes,
right.
What are you doing within the position you play, and what are the specificities or the requirements, right? So it's the movement off the ball. It's staying connected to the team. it's stepping, it's dropping, these types of things. So having that understanding is critical, because if you don't, or you are confused, right, and you find yourself in a position you shouldn't be, and there's a breakdown that occurs because you're in the wrong spot, or maybe you're a 7 or 11, right, and the ball's getting ready to shift, right, from left to right, and you're late to recognize and to get wide early, and so you start opening up late, and guess what? Your opponent's just tracking with you. So that's shut down. So there's so many different things. If we're on the ball 90 seconds to 2 minutes, the importance of what you're doing, right? The remaining time when you're on the field is massive, right? And so as you get older, these are things that are critical, because once again, you can't receive the information, and I said before, ingest it, then go and apply it, then really, I don't know if it's going to work for you. That's just the reality. So all of these different areas, and once again, the beauty of what I said before as well, we can help you here. This is what we're here for. This is why we created iATAC. We want to empower the next generation of players here in the United States, right? How do you do that? Well, we have to have a tangible plan of action, something that's process oriented that we can deliver. And these players, right, that work with us will start getting these incremental gains and enhancing their level, right? And see, wow, this is great. I'm excited. I want more. And that's what we're trying to deliver.
Perfect. All right. Well, Chris, thank you. This has been great. And good. Yeah. All right.